What's up, everybody? This is strictly just to see if the audio is working. So, don't think the show's starting. We still got like 5 more minutes or so, maybe 10. Just waiting on this to load, and then I'll let y'all know. It works. All right. I'll see y'all soon. Peace. Oh, I can't see myself on the screen. That's all right. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How y'all doing? Like I said, it's your boy Elijah. We are, I think, like officially in the off season. I don't want to use the word off season on this show because the NFL is always going on. Like there's always news every single day. Whether it's players getting cut, teams making moves, whatever it may be. And also, off-season is just a sad way to put that there is no football, and I don't want to live in a world where there's no football. So, we're going to be talking mock drafts today just a little bit of free agency talk, just like important dates, kind of what teams need to do in order for them to get better. A lot of teams, I've noticed this ever since I really started getting into football, professional football, is that teams really want to get better, and fan bases really want to get better in one season. That's just not possible for a lot of teams. We're just going to look at what the long-term plan is for a lot of teams and just what the whole blueprint looks like. We're going to be looking at 32 picks, so I'll have 4 slides with 8 picks on each. And I'll be, saying the player, position, school. And then I don't have, full-on stats because this is the first edition of the mock draft for Fantasy Blitz. So I don't have all the P's and Q's here. I don't have my P's and Q's, whatever it may be, but I do have little notes on how the player may help or what the player is like, that whole thing, the whole shebang. But let's get into it. Let's get over to the topics for today, and that is just the mock draft 1.0. I want to do probably 3 mock drafts or so because obviously there can be trades that happen. You can't really predict trades unless you're a big sources guy. However, in today's era, you just never know when news is going to drop or who to trust, But just mock draft 1.0 and then a little bit of free agency talk. I'm thinking next week we're going to just do a whole on, free agency, the date that it starts is March 13th of this year. And I think it's at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m., somewhere around there. So I'm not too sure of what's going on. But over here in the chat, we've got Davis Apple. What up, Davis? He says, I can't wait. And good. Very good. But yes, sir, here we go. Let's get into it. So, for the first 8 picks, I've got Caleb Williams, quarterback for USC. He will be going to Chicago. I feel like this is a no-brainer just because he has insane talent. He has NFL-ready talent. He and, honestly, Marvin Harrison Jr. are the only guys, and maybe a little bit of Brock Bowers, where I look at them and I think, you're NFL-ready. You could have honestly gone into the NFL beginning of last season and have, no worries. But Caleb Williams, just fantastic. This is where it gets interesting because Chicago has the number 1 overall pick. And yeah, they do need it, but now in this draft, do you really need it? Because you have Justin Fields in the second half of the season, he did fantastic. So it's just a sticky situation. I do think that the Bears will trade away Fields just because the value is there and you have the number 1 overall pick and the 9th pick, which is just insane. So Caleb Williams for sure. Then we got Washington. I think they're going to go with Drake May, quarterback out of UNC. I'm not the biggest Drake May fan. I think Jaden Daniels is better than him. I just don't get it. I don't see him being very good. He had a pretty slumpish last season or the end of last season, so just not a huge fan of him. But I do think that they won't trade this pick because there's new ownership, new head coach in Dan Quinn. So not really expecting the Commanders to make a move here. And I've heard nothing but Drake May going to number 2 overall. So definitely expect them to go with them. Third, we have New England with Jaden Daniels, the most recent Heisman winner. Yeah, I think he'll be well anywhere he goes. And New England's just kind of clearing out house, everyone but Robert Kraft. So Jaden Daniels should fit well. They don't have a lot of weapons. They lack at wide receiver. They lack on the O-line. Their running back is their best player, I believe, in Ramondre Stevenson, which absolutely stinks. But he's a great player, great fantasy player. He's not. If that's your best player, that's not great at all. And then number 4 overall, Arizona. I think they're getting the best prospect in the entire draft, and honestly, maybe of all time. This guy is just an absolute beast. He knows what he's doing out in the field, whether it's short routes, deep routes, which is his specialty. And he's got fantastic hands. He knows how to make a move all sorts of ways. And he's a prodigy of his father, Marvin Harrison. So it's storybook. I think Arizona will definitely benefit. However, if any of those quarterbacks drop to Arizona, I do think they will go with a quarterback. But I don't know if that will be even a possibility, because nowadays everyone thinks a quarterback can change your team, which is true, but that they just think that's the secret formula, which I don't believe in. But yeah, so Marvin Harrison, I bet he is the best draft prospect of all time, because he's just, ever since he came into college football, he just seems like he's been the best overall, like in his field in all sorts of ways. So definitely going, if he's available, you got to get him, unless you're the top 3 teams, because you just need a leader. And then number 5, Brock Bowers going to the Chargers. A lot of people in their mock drafts have him going down to about like 10, 11. I just don't see that happening, especially with the Chargers having him at 5, just because I don't understand why you would pass up on him when you have an offense like that is missing. Gerald Everett's great, but you're missing a great tight end to complete that offense. John Harbaugh. No, I'm sorry. I keep getting their names mixed up. They're not even twins. Jim Harbaugh loves Georgia. He doesn't really like the team, but he loves the talent there. So I think he will love to take Brock Bowers at 5. But let's keep moving on, because I just realized there's a lot of picks, and I don't want to keep talking about them for this long. But yes, number 6, New York Giants, Malik Neighbors, wide receiver for LSU. I definitely think they will go for a wideout, unless, again, same situation for Arizona, if there's a quarterback. So if Jaden Daniels drops to number 6, I think they'll easily say goodbye to Daniel Jones and keep Tyrod Taylor as their backup, because he's a great backup. But Malik Neighbors, fast guy. LSU, man, they know how to produce these wide receivers. And I'm not just saying because of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., it just looks like the shoe fits no matter what. And then we'll go to Tennessee. Joe Alt. This is a weird one. I got to go full cam for this, because the offensive tackles and offensive line in general, this is one of the most stacked class I've seen in a while. Probably since like 2015, whenever the Falcons took Jake Matthews, or I can't remember the whole year. But I mean, just you couldn't really go wrong if you're Tennessee, if you're looking for an offensive lineman, because you got a new coach, pretty much a new quarterback in Will Levis. So definitely got to protect your future and just beef up the line. That's, if you know football, you know the offensive line makes and breaks a team. So they're going to go. I think they're going to go with Joe Alt. And then number 8 with the Falcons. Unfortunately, I think they're going to go with Dallas Turner. Not that I don't think he's a great prospect, because he is one of the best. I think he's top 10 player. But I would love to see us take a quarterback. However, if those top 3 guys are taken, no shot. I don't want Bo Nix at 8. I like the idea of Penix coming to coming to Atlanta, but not at 8. I just think that's too high. But that would also, he's talented. If you've ever watched any of the film, that guy's insane. He's quick off the gun, or he's quick off the jump, and he gets the quarterback really, really quickly. So got to shout out to Dallas Turner, because now he's no longer part of the Alabama team, so I can like him. It is what it is. So let's move on to the next slide. We have picks 9 through 16. All right, this one is an interesting name. I've been practicing all day for it. So for number 9, Chicago's going to go with Alu Fashanu. He's an offensive tackle out of Penn State. Again, he could be the first offensive tackle off the board. It just depends on what teams like out of a guy. Also, we're not even near the combine, so it could be a minute before we even see who the standout guy is. Let's look over the chat real quick, because we got 3 chats in there. Let's go. Wayne Heron says, "Bring us a breakdown." I'm trying my best, Pops. You know how it is. Dude, Gabe Davis might be leaving the Bills. The Bills need a new O-line. Oh, Davis. I have a treat for you towards the end of the show, because I think you'll like the pick that I made for the Bills, because it's if Gabe Davis is leaving, you never know. You never know what could happen. So then we're going to go back to number 10. The New York Jets, Marius Mims. Good gravy. The show, I'm having a hectic day, because I got signed out of the channel, so then I had to figure it all out. Shout out to Nick for helping me. So I'm just all over the place, but now we're here. We're settled. Let's all take a breath. Amarius Mims, offensive line out of UGA. He is extremely powerful. If you ever want to look up a masterclass of O-line, look up his games against Ohio State last year in the playoff game, and then I believe it was Michigan the year prior. Guy's a beast off the blocks. Main reason is for the pass game. But that'll definitely help out the Jets because they want to protect Aaron Rodgers in all sorts of ways because that's their guy. Then we have Minnesota, Jared Verse. It definitely, like, they don't need any help on the offensive side. It all depends on what Kirk Cousins does or wherever he goes. But they definitely get help with Jaron Hall and just that whole defensive line. Because that defense is really nasty. Jordan Love earlier this year, they asked him what his best defenses were. He said Chiefs were number 1. Can't remember 2 through 5, but one of those were Minnesota. And the people on the podcast were like kind of shocked in a way, but he said they just throw everything at you. And I think Jared Verse will definitely fit in with that Minnesota style. So let's get back into those picks. We have Denver. We got Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. He's a cornerback. Denver just needs a little bit of help in their secondary. They don't lack in a lot of areas. Just it's just simple secondary help. That's all they really need. And then 13 overall, another name I practice, Talise Fuagu. I believe that's, Fuagu. He is an offensive tackle out of Oregon State. Again, this is just help for whoever that quarterback is going to be for Vegas. Whether it's Jimmy G, even though he got suspended. I think he also got released or requested a trade. But I don't know what they're going to do with their quarterback situation. I also heard Fields is in that mix. I don't think Justin Fields wants to get out of Chicago, but that's not up to him. It's very sad nowadays that it's not up to them anymore. Ooh, excuse me. But then let's move on to the next pick. New Orleans. Laiatu Latu. He's an edge out of UCLA. Again, that will just help the New Orleans Saints defense. They had another fantastic year on the defensive side. I just don't see them taking a wide receiver. I don't see them taking any offensive tackle. They're good on running backs. I know Derek Carr's their quarterback, but just it would seem unnecessary. You would just kind of go with the best player available mentality for this guy. But then 15, got Rome Odunze. Me personally, I think he's a top 2 wide receiver in this draft. I think he's better than Malik Neighbors, but I've heard nothing but Malik Neighbors being the top pick. But what I've seen with my own eyes, Rome is just incredible, man. His hands are nasty. He's got a 75% contested catch rate. I believe that's 3rd in the entire nation. So that guy's just an absolute beast. Great for deep balls. He's going to be a great wide receiver, too, for the Colts, pairing with Anthony Richardson. So I think they're going to go with Rome. Then we got Seattle, J.C. Latham, sorry. Yeah, again, I just don't see them going with the defensive side because they're already pretty stacked. Unless Mike McDonald wants to go with another defensive player, I can totally see that happening. But I just don't really, I don't know. I don't see them going on that side of the ball, and I just see them wanting to protect Geno at all costs because they're perfect, I think, their situation because they have a young defense, a young overall offense, but their quarterback is slightly older, so you definitely want to protect the goods in that area. So that's the first half of the draft. Let's look over at the chat because it's starting to blow up a little bit. Let's go. Brandon. What up, Brandon? He says, Joe Alt is better. Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I got him going first overall. Well, not first overall. First offensive tackle overall. And then, hey, what up, Bucci? How's it going, man? He says, still waiting on Fantasy on Ice. Okay, you just gave us the name. I appreciate that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know this channel is still pretty small, but we have big goals over here at Fantasy Blitz. I and Nick and Adam and the whole team, we want to make it a fantasy sports show, fantasy sports channel. This would be the football, obviously. It's just easier because fantasy football is the biggest one out of all. But I want to eventually do fantasy basketball, baseball, hockey even. I just think that'd be great. And Nick just gave us a fantastic name, Fantasy on Ice. That is beautiful. Mwah, chef's kiss. Appreciate you, Bucci. But yes, sir. Let's move on to the next chat. Is Terrion Arnold's cornerback over Kool-Aid McKinstry, Nate Wiggins, and Quignon? Yeah, okay. So, again, this is a similar situation with the offensive tackles, Brandon. I've seen nothing. This is what I'm just going off other people's mock drafts. I did make my own. I did my own draft. If y'all really want it, contact us so I can send you it because I have it on paper. I just see them going with Terrion because that's just what the whole ordeal is. Me personally, I think Kool-Aid's the best one because I've seen him the most. He also seems like he's a ball hawk. No one really, whenever teams throw it to him, it just gets bad out of the air right away. But yeah, it's just really tough. This is also first version, so I understand the heat. What is your background? What is your background, Brandon? It looks like the Patriots logo, and I know you wouldn't have that. It is what it is. So let's move on to the next slide. Oh my goodness! Did you forget to pay the fee of liking and subscribing? You got to tell your mom, your dad, your grandpa, your auntie, your uncle, your cousins, coworkers, friends, family, whoever it may be. Tell them to like and subscribe to Fantasy Blitz. Like I said earlier, we're really trying to make this blow up so that can be fantasy basketball, fantasy hockey, baseball, everything. But right now we're just doing fantasy football. But really appreciate you guys. If you guys could share the stream, like the video, that really helps. And just really do appreciate you guys tuning in on this fine Thursday afternoon. Hope y'all's week has been going well. Hope your day's been going well. I know you guys have busy lives, plenty of stuff going on. But yes, let's move on to the next one. We have picks 17 through 24. So 17, we got Jacksonville, Nate Wiggins. This is an interesting one because Jacksonville, I like their team overall. I don't think they'll go wide receiver because I think they're going to pursue someone out in free agency, maybe like T. Higgins or something. But Jacksonville ranked like eighth worst team in pass defense. So maybe they're just looking to have a little bit of help on that side of the ball. 18, we have Brian Thomas Jr. Kind of relates to what I just said. I think they're going to let T. Higgins go, and then they're going to look for a replacement for T. Higgins. And that we're just going to call Cincinnati the LSU Bengals. Kind of works out with the Tigers. But, yeah, just because this guy's a beast. Joe Burrow, I don't really care who the ball is being thrown to. I just think it's a beautiful connection that he has with those guys. Then we'll move on to the Rams. Kind of a speed run for this one. Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. I don't really know much about this guy. I can't lie. I kind of just made the mock draft today. But I just know he's really good. I don't want to put any lies out there like, oh, he's really fast or he's a great cover. But Quinyon Mitchell, I think the Rams will definitely need some help. They don't really need help on the defensive line. I like their offense overall, especially with Kyron Williams flourishing. Matt Stafford's getting older, but you don't need to invest in a quarterback right now. But yeah, I think they're going to go with Quinyon. Next, we have Cooper DeJean. If you know, you know. This is incredible that we can have this cornerback getting taken out of Iowa. But Pittsburgh, I have the note right here. They were top 5 worst pass defense in the league. They definitely going to need some help. And I think Cooper DeJean is actually pretty good. Watched a little of his tape. Not too bad. Next, we have Miami. We've got Jackson Powers Johnson, inside offensive lineman out of Oregon. Yeah, my note for this one was just give that boy Tua some help because it's not looking good for that line. I like their weapons on the outside. I like Raheem Mostert. Their defense is great. It's just the offensive line. You can never go wrong with helping your offensive line, especially with these young bucks in the draft. Yeah, they may not have any experience, but if you can coach them right, those big boys can get through. Ooh, not too bad. Then 22nd overall, Philadelphia. I believe they're going to go with Kool-Aid McKinstry. They need some help on the pass. My goodness, it was really bad this year. Any game you watch with Philadelphia, their quarterback, the opposite quarterback, just seemed to do so much better. It was crazy to watch. So really insane watches over there with Philadelphia. But I believe they're going to go with Kool-Aid McKinstry, who I believe is the best cornerback in all of the draft. Then we'll go with Houston. We got Byron Murphy, defensive lineman out of Texas. He last year won Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. I say keep that guy in Texas. It will just definitely help out with his situation. But, yeah, I just think he's quick off the line. He's springy. He's quick. He gets that quarterback really quick and just clogs up all sorts of holes. But then we're going to move on after this Dallas pick. Troy Fatanu. I just say stick to your – he's an offensive tackle out of Washington. I say stick to your bread and butter if you're Dallas because they're notorious for keeping offensive linemen good and drafting them and keeping them just one of the best in the league. So I don't see that changing at all, especially at the 24th pick. They're not really lackluster at the wide receiver. Any defensive positions, I don't really see, like especially cornerback, they're not lacking anything. So I think they're going to go offensive tackle. Let's look over to the chat here real quick. Did see Quinyon failed or balled at Senior Bowl, absolutely gutted every quarterback and receiver. All right, see? Thank you, Brandon. I got more stuff to look at because, I got to keep up with this kind of stuff. So I need to look at, this is why it's mock draft 1.0. Again, I want to do a 2.0 probably in February, 3.0 in March, and then, we're in February. 2.0 in March, 3.0 in April, so we have 3 overall. Let me pull up the stream in here, so here we go. There we go, not too bad. Play. All right. So then let's move on to the next one. the final 8 picks. We've got 25 Green Bay, Kamari Lassiter out of UGA. They just add to the stellar defense. They have the youngest team in all of the league. I personally think they should go wide receiver, but Green Bay hates picking wide receivers in the first round. Except I believe they did it last year. But yeah, it's just they don't like doing it. They need to help out Jordan Love because they could definitely beef up that wide receiver core. But I think they're going to go with Kamari Lassiter. As a Dogs fan, I do believe he is one of the better cornerbacks in the league. And also, I've been reading some things that a lot of GMs and a lot of scouts believe that he will just absolutely blow up in the next couple days or the next days of the combine because they'll see the athleticism from him. Then 26, we got Keon Coleman, wide receiver out of Florida State University. I like this pick because Florida guy, stay in Florida. But, you know, he could be the successor of Mike Evans unless Mike Evans resigns or, you know, stays with the team. But, yeah, I like Keon Coleman. I like the size on that guy. I think he can really get up there and get the balls with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And also, that just helps Baker Mayfield a bunch. And then Arizona, moving on, Arizona, J.J. McCarthy. I like this pick personally. I don't like J.J. McCarthy as a quarterback. Don't really think he's that good. But I also don't think he should be getting that much disrespect on that team simply because that team was all ground and pound. So when they beat Ohio State earlier in the year, everyone got upset like, oh, he only threw the ball like 8 times in the second half. Well, he didn't need to. Or he didn't throw the ball at all in the second half. Whatever it may be, he didn't need to because that was not the bread and butter of the team. He is actually not terrible of a quarterback. He makes good throws when he needs to. I just don't think he is NFL ready, but he's got to go. But yeah, I think it's a great pick at 27 just because if Kyler doesn't work out in the beginning of the season, they have a young quarterback that can work out with him, with Marvin Harrison Jr. and that whole team. Hopefully Marquise Goodwin, for their sake, resigns. But then we'll move on to 28, Buffalo, Troy Franklin out of Oregon, wide receiver. I believe this is a great pick for Buffalo just because, you know, like we just read in the chat earlier that Gabe Davis may leave potentially, but I don't know if it will happen. We'll have to see because, you know, we're only a few weeks away from free agency, and obviously it takes time for those things to unfold. But I think this guy is great. You know, could be a potential Diggs replacement if Diggs leaves, if he decides to go. Who knows? Then 29th overall pick, Detroit Lions. I believe they're going to go with Ennis Rakestraw Jr. He's a cornerback out of Missouri. I think it's just a great pairing with C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Brian Branch. I just believe that will create, you know, a solid secondary. I don't know if they need to go with anywhere else. Like, their running backs are great. Their wide receiver core isn't that bad. Their tight end, fantastic as a rookie. Quarterback, Jared Goff actually looks pretty good. Offensive line didn't really show any struggles this year. But, yeah, I don't believe they have anything to fix, quote-unquote, but I do like the idea of going with a cornerback. Then we have Baltimore, Adonai Mitchell. I like this pick a lot. Okay, not just because he's a solid wide receiver, but if you watched Adonai Mitchell at all, you know that this guy's a dog, and the Ravens like having dogs on their team. Like, Lamar's a dog. I'm trying to think. J.K. Dobbins is a dog. Odell Beckham Jr., if he resigns, is a dog. Like, these guys want to win games, and Adonai Mitchell just wants to get the ball. And there's a clip, I think it was against Washington, where he got upset about not getting the ball, and he told his quarterback, and the next play he gets the ball and makes a huge play. So it just shows that he's ready for these moments. He wants to take these moments, just boom, right away and go. And I think that's what Baltimore needs. And also, if Odell leaves, it kind of fills the hole right there. And it'll be a great wide receiver 2-3 with Zay Flowers. Because Zay Flowers has proven to be wide receiver 1 by far. I loved that guy in the preseason, so shout out to Adonai. Before we get into the final 2 picks, let's look at the chat because I saw 3 of chat up. Let's go. Wayne Heron says, can you explain the situation with Justin Fields more? What do you think will happen with him with their QB? I will get to that in just a second as soon as I finish up these because that will be in a little bit of free agency talk. Then we got Robest when I'm armed. What up, Troy? Sue! What up? And then Davis Apples, we need another year, I think, to rebuild. There are too many spots that we need filled and formed. No, I agree. Davis, I don't think you understand how happy I am to see that you're not just watching football, but knowing football. Yes, Buffalo, yeah, y'all need a little bit of things to fill in. But if you can have a solid free agency this year and make a good selection, like Dalton Kincaid last year, great pick. Even though you had Dawson Knox, great pick. Solid draft pick, a good draft overall, but good free agency moves. That can definitely change your team. You just got to get over that hump, and the Bills Mafia will prevail. But let's get in the final 2 picks. We've got San Francisco, Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. He's offensive tackle. He's a right tackle. I believe it'll go well for them just because Trent Williams is getting older, and that'll be a nice pairing. So I know they play on opposite sides of the line, but that will definitely be a good learning moment for Tyler, and also it will just, like, he's good, man. I watched a little bit of his tape today. He has got quick reactions. Like, right off the bat, he knows when a guy is coming. Like, I didn't want to, like, act it out, but I watched one clip where this guy, like, came out of nowhere, and he turned and, boom, block right away. So he just knows when guys are coming, and he knows how to defend, or I guess offend. He's on offense. I don't know. Last but not least, 32nd overall pick. I think that the Chiefs will go with Ladd McConkey, a wide receiver out of Georgia. A lot of the big boards, they have him at, like, the 39th, 40th best prospect overall. But he balled out in the Senior Bowl, okay, and then the Combine's coming up. And this guy is fast, all right? Like, boy has speed. He is quick. Like, he can stop on a dime like no one else. So I think that the Combine will definitely boost him up a little bit. So he's incredible. I really hope to see him go to Kansas City because the Chiefs really need a wide receiver, and they won a Super Bowl without any good wide receivers. So I think Rashee Rice and McConkey will be a great young wide receiver duo. But, yeah, that concludes the mock draft for Fantasy Blitz 1.0. We will have 2.0 in March. Man, February is coming to an end. That's crazy. In March, we'll have 2.0. April, we'll have 3.0. Maybe we'll have ones in between, like 1.5, 2.5. Who knows? Who knows what it may be? Let me take a sip of my yerba. We got Revelberry today. Last week had Blueforia. I'm drowning in it. If you know, you know. But yeah, that concludes it for the draft. Let me know what y'all think in the chat of these picks. It's really hard. I was initially going to do 10 picks, but then I realized, like, why do just 10 when I can just do a whole round? Maybe I'll do 2 rounds for the next one. But if you guys ever have, like, any spare time or just simply bored, go to, like, Google and just type in NFL mock drafts, and you can beat all the teams, and you can just make your own picks. It's really fun, you know, just play GM for a little bit. Not too bad. All right, so the next topic, I'll answer Mr. Wayne Heron's question about Justin Fields. So he was recently on a podcast with the St. Brown brothers. If you don't know, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think it's EJ St. Brown. Not too sure. But they have a podcast, and Justin Fields got put on, and he recently unfollowed the Chicago Bears and the NFL. And then I'm just mentioning this because it's been shown. He started following a lot of Falcons players. Don't know why. He's from Atlanta, just right down the road at Harrison High School is where he went. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, why'd you do that?" So they asked him on the podcast, which I love when, like, it gets real. When you ask him directly, and he said, you know, just because you're messing with the girl doesn't mean you're not following them. He's on off-season mode. He doesn't want to see any football on his feed. But isn't that weird? In his bio, he has Chicago Bears /ATL in his, you know, Instagram bio. But isn't that weird just to unfollow the team? I don't know. It's kind of strange. But he said he wants to play in Chicago. He doesn't see himself playing anywhere else. But this is the NFL. It is business. I wish it was like over there in European soccer, where you have to agree to go, because over there they ask you, and if you say no, then they don't do anything because you are the player. You know, it's just weird over here in the NFL, NBA. Like, they just trade you like you're nothing. It is what it is. But I personally think they'll trade him. I think he might go to the Falcons, maybe the Raiders. I haven't seen anywhere else really other than those 2 teams. But I also think Kirk Cousins could go to the Falcons. So it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting to see because he has proven. Like I said earlier, the second half of the season, he has proven to be a solid quarterback, and he kind of knows what he's doing. So wherever he goes, I think he'll flourish. I personally think, and I'm being biased, I think the Falcons are the best team for him just because it's all there for him. You know, like, I just think the weapons, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, even Jonnu Smith is a great backup tight end for him to throw the ball to. So I just think the situation, and also you get to play indoors, man. Like, you don't want to keep playing out in Chicago. It's cold. But you know, we'll see what happens. Again, it'll be a while before we even know what's going to happen. But yeah, that pretty much concludes the show. It's a little bit of a shorter show today. We started a little bit later just because of technical difficulties. But yeah, really do appreciate you guys coming in. I think next week, oh man, I think we're going to do a top 10 quarterback. I'm sorry, I got like, the nerve is getting to me. Top 10 quarterback rankings for next year, including the guys that I just talked about getting drafted. But we'll go quarterback, and then we'll do running backs. Or maybe like top 20, just because, you know, top 10, it'll take like 10 minutes. So probably top 20 rankings for quarterbacks next year. And then after that, running backs, wide receivers, yada, yada, yada. But that's it. I really do appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Share this video. Make sure you subscribe so that we can create fantasy on ice, fantasy on the court. I don't know. Still got to brainstorm some of these ideas. But yeah, appreciate you guys again. God bless. Be kind, and peace. What's up, Hunter? How you doing, brother? I'm so sorry you missed it. Breaks my heart.